Perfect.
Hi there. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time you are playing this on-demand Zoom workshop. We welcome you to this opportunity to learn more about applying to UK and Canadian universities. And we have friends of the Barclay Institute. You've probably seen their faces before if you've engaged in any of the workshops that are on our resource tree. We have our representatives from Longtail Learning, Mr. Darrell and Mr. Osset, here to again encourage, to inform, and to inspire students and parents as you walk through your next steps of transitioning from high school to college, whether it's in Bermuda or whether it's abroad. And in this case, we're talking about overseas universities. So you welcome you, gentlemen. Thank you so much. And I want to share here, these are young men that are currently in school. And so this information is fresh and relevant to their everyday lives. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I'll kick us off.
yes, let's go for it.
Today we're just going to go over, as you said, Canadian and UK schools, and then just a couple top tips that we have from our experience. So first of all, I just want to go over the benefits of university. I'm a big advocate for further education, so I think that university is something that everyone should try to do. First and foremost, as many of you know, it'll help you out with your career. A lot of jobs after graduating from university or when you're ready to apply do need a university degree as a prerequisite. So it gives you more opportunity to more jobs. University also gives you opportunities to have internships or networking opportunities. It will help you secure those internships if you have a university degree. There's also a place for you to grow personally. I mean, it essentially is your first introduction to adulthood in a very controlled environment. So instead of just going straight from high school into just straight adulthood, you're being slowly eased into it, getting more responsibility and kind of being more independent in the space where you can be with your friends and still have some support from your family. It also allows you to access a more specialized knowledge set. You know, you're diving into a subject and learning more about it. So you are becoming an expert in the subject. You're able to differentiate yourself from others in the job market. And that really will help you out as you progress down the road. Then also, it's just a great place to meet people, especially if you're in the UK or Canada getting that international experience. You're meeting people from all around the world. You're learning about people from all around the world, and you're getting a much broader perspective to life. Now I'm going to pass over to you. I want to talk about the role of the reach, safety, and target schools.
So all those benefits that you get from university, you have to think strategically about where you're applying because it's a very expensive process in some cases if you're applying to every single school. And it makes more sense to apply to a small set of schools that you really have a good interest in rather than applying to every single school that's out there. So the easiest way to break this down is to look at your reach schools, your safety schools, and your target schools. What are these? So your reach schools are the ones that are slightly above your average. They're slightly higher in terms of the average academic credentials. They can be very challenging, but they're still manageable. So this should make up about 20% of your choices. The safety schools, on the other hand, are those ones that you're definitely going to get, right? So those are the ones that you could, with your current grades that you have, you can get in based off of what you have. And these are really important schools to have in your sort of set because once again, we all want to go for our reach schools, we all want to go for our target schools, but we also need to have some safety options just in case, just to ensure ourselves in case we don't get the grades that we necessarily get. We need to make sure that we're going somewhere that we're comfortable with going, that's still going to give us a little bit of academic rigor and not just be somewhere where we're just wasting 3 or 4 years of our life. So it's a good thing to strategically think about your safety schools. And then your target schools are the ones that have all the bright stars and flashy lights around them, right? They're the ones that they're within your average range, yes. And that can overlap with the reach schools as well, but they tend to be the ones that they're not just academically challenging, but they're also the ones that may be offering the sports programs that you like or the extracurriculars that you like. And once again, like we said, this is overlapping with some of the reach schools because for a lot of you guys, your reach and target schools may be very similar. But we think that a good way of breaking it up is into having this 40% split between reach schools and the safety schools, and then your target schools take up that 60% in the middle of that. And that's a good way of sort of giving you a good sort of range of options that you can choose from, whether you get into all of them, whether you get into some, you can feel happier with what you end up with at the end of the day.
Yeah, well said. I'm going to talk about Canadian schools now. Just as a prerequisite, I applied to 7 schools, kind of using the same methodology that Ywione did. All of them I was super happy with going to. So that is very important. Like doing the research and figuring out, even if this is my safety school, it is a school that I am very happy to go to. It's a nice place. I've got friends nearby, good academics. So still, we got to do a lot of research. Don't just apply to any school. So if you're applying to Canada, the easiest way to do this is with OUAC. This is a centralized application center for Ontario specific schools, which is that's where you get all your Toronto schools and that kind of area. It's one flight from Bermuda, so it's very popular amongst Bermudians to go there. And it's also very close to the other provinces. So if you have friends in like Montreal, it's a 3-hour drive, so it's very easy. The application deadline is usually mid-January. For us, I think it was January 15th, and it's going to be around there, give or take a couple days. So just got to keep an eye out for that. It's pretty simple. You're going to need a transcript, potential essays. Some schools do require like more essays than others, depending on how hard they are to get into. And specific programs, like the hardest programs, will probably need a couple essays and maybe even an online interview. You have to pre-record an interview, just saying why you're a good candidate for the admissions. But most schools just need maybe an essay, transcript, and then also proof of Canadian citizenship if you're Canadian. Because when you're applying to Canada, there's a difference between Canadian tuition and international tuition, which can be quite large. So if you are Canadian, if any of your parents are Canadian, and you have a way to get Canadian citizenship, this is definitely something you do need to research, because it will make a quite significant change in how much you're spending on university. I think off the top of my head, like at my school, it's 10 times more expensive to be an international student than Canadian for tuition. So it's crazy. But to apply to OUAC, the reason why it's so good is you just pay $156 in Canadian dollars. So that'd be like 120 Bermudian dollars for 3 university and program choices. And then for each additional choice, it's 50 Canadian dollars. So like 35 Bermudian dollars. So it's quite easy. You put all your stuff into the platform and then just pick schools, rank them, and it just uses all your documents for all the different schools and applies individually for you. If you don't want to apply to Ontario, then you could branch out, go to other provinces, but you will have to apply individually to the province and the school. So, like for example, I'm going to the University of British Columbia, and I had to go to the website and apply individually on the website. There's benefits, you have, for example, me in British Columbia, I'm very far away. It's a beautiful province, but it is an extra flight. I can't drive to see my friends, so there's pluses and minuses. So you definitely need to research all the provinces, research what province you like the best, what kind of area you like the best. Um, because other provinces will probably be slightly more expensive to apply to because you have to apply to each program and school individually. And again, like Yawan said, some top tips when applying overall is use the rule of seven. Like use one safety school, one or two reach schools, and then 4 to 5 target schools. So that's like a 40-60 split. And then again, yeah, research as much as you can. There's never too much research because you're going to be spending 4 years in this university, in this program. So you need to make sure it's actually something you like, because it is going to take up probably most of your time. So
I
do
would
a lot of
also
research.
add about the Canadian schools that there's a, and we'll get into this when you start talking about the UK schools, but there's an added flexibility that you get to some of the Canadian schools versus some of the UK ones, right? So I have some friends who they decided for one semester that they weren't going to take any classes. And all of a sudden, they didn't take classes that semester. They came back home for that semester. And rather than finishing their degree in 4 years, they're going to do it in 5 years. And that may work for some of you, right? Because you may find that it's really intense. You may feel like you need to take a step back. And some of those schools will allow you to do so. So that's another thing that you can be aware of. And I know it's a common thing among the North American schools that they allow this flexibility, which is not something as prevalent in the UK.
Yeah, there definitely is a lot of flexibility with courses. Like I'm in business, which is a specialized program, but a lot of my friends came in from a different program as well. They came in from like arts, and then it's pretty easy to catch up over because you have a 4 year degree, so you can just take your required courses in your own time. There's a lot of summer courses you can take just online. It's very, very flexible and it's a lot easier to complete your degree. So if you're looking for that, that's also another benefit. I'm going to pass over to Yawan for UK.
Yes, let's talk about Great Britain. So I think that my for the UK, you have UCAS that you're applying through. I cannot remember exactly what the acronym stands for, but it's basically your all-in-one UK admission portal. So whether you're applying to Oxford, whether you're applying to Cambridge, whether you're applying to University of Nottingham, King's College London, you're going to use UCAS for undergrad at least. And so one of the key things, well, this year the application deadline is January 29th, 2025. So for those of you who are still looking at universities, you have time, but that deadline's quickly approaching. For your Oxfords and Cambridges, you're gonna have to wait till next year, because they have their deadline the 1st of October. So what are some of the key components about the UK application? I would say firstly that you have 5 course choices. So this is pretty good, but it sort of limits you because once again, you only get to write one personal statement. We'll get into the details of that. But that means that, for example, for me, when I was applying for my undergrad degree in political economy, I chose quite similar courses across the different places I applied to. So I applied to University of Warwick, I applied to Bath, I applied to King's, I applied to UCL and Oxford, and I stuck in the sort of political economy, economics, PPE sort of space, right? Because I can't write a personal statement about something like biology if I'm going to be talking about economics. So it's one of those give and take things, but it sort of speaks to what a degree is like in the UK, right? They want you to come in, it's a shorter period, you're only here for 3 years, so they want you to sort of come in with this clear idea of what you want, and that sort of is reflected in the application process and how direct they want you to be with your application. So going on to the personal statement, this has changed quite a bit since Daniel and I left. and applied. So rather than having one long 4,000 character statement, which I prefer personally, you now have to break it up into three different prompts. And this is helpful for a lot of you guys who may not necessarily find it as easy to write a long piece of work, right? Because it does take more time to sort of think about how you're going to weave every single point about yourself in and try to, add all the cute little hooks and things that make an essay really pop. So the three different prompts that you're working with now are: why do you want to study this course or subject? How have your qualifications and studies helped you prepare for this course or subject? And what else have you done to prepare outside of education? And why are these experiences useful? If we're being honest, these are really your typical sort of questions whenever you could be applying to a job and it'll be similar types of questions, right? And so I think the good thing about them being shorter is that you get to really narrow in your answers into why you really want to go into this course. And even though it's not one big piece of work, you're still able to loop all of these questions together in a way. So I really would recommend trying to do that. In terms of academic references, I would say don't just go for your favorite teacher, go for the teacher who's probably seen you grow the most, right? I think that's my big one, because I know a lot of teachers who in high school, I did not necessarily like their class the best, but because it was probably one of the hardest ones I took. But going to them, they'll be able to give a unique perspective on your growth, on how they think you manage things like stress. And this is what a lot of the admission boards are looking for. And in terms of predicted grades, sometimes you got to be strategic with them, right? So, for example, me, I took 8 APs over the last 2 years of high school, I think, about that. And so what I did was that when I was applying, I made sure that I was applying, and then for the UK, they tend to take uh like board exams, so your APs, your GCSEs, etc. So what they're looking for is those really good grades. So make sure that you're trying to get those good grades early on, because those are the first grades that you're going to have on your application, and that gives you a bit more leeway, right? I got a unconditional offer to Kings before I even met the requirements based off of those predicted grades. And so predicted grades can have a lot of power and weight behind them. So just be strategic about how you're using them. Oh, and also it's much cheaper than Canada, as you could tell. Yeah, five choices. So yeah. Other notes, I mean, I already sort of touched on this, the UK degrees are 3 years. It's it goes by quick, right? So that first year, this is one thing I have to say, even once you get to the UK, there is this tendency among us as Bermudians to be like, I want to just stick with the Bermudians. I want to don't do that. Branch out, spread your wings, because these can be people that you build relationships with. And on top of that, there are networking opportunities out there that you may not know of because of the fact that you just want to stay in your small bubble. Most of us have grown up here for 18 years or something like that. Spread your wings, break yourself out of your comfort zone. That's what university is for. So you have 3 years, you don't have a lot of time. So try to grow as much as an individual during that time. Uh, like I said, it's less expensive than Canada or the US, much less expensive. When I was doing my undergrad, it was 9,250. I think it may have gone up a little bit in terms of, and that's in pounds. That's probably about 11 to $12,000. So that's not as bad. Make sure you have your British passport though, because they will, some schools are very sneaky, and they'll be like, well, technically you're not a British citizen, you don't have a British passport. So make sure you have that sorted out so that they can pull one over on you. And as I earlier said, more specialized degrees in Canada. So if you feel like you can't handle the sort of you need that flexibility in your education, that's fine. Canada may work better for you. But they also, in some UK universities, have 4-year programs where the first one's just a foundation. So it's very similar to the UK, sorry, not to the UK, to the US and Canada. However, the difference is that after you finish that first year, it's still a normal UK degree, and professors will still have that sort of, not distant, but they won't be as involved as they are in the US or Canada a lot of the time. So those are my big points about the UK. Remember that rule of five, that or seven. The same principles apply. You know, your safety, your reaches, and your targets, and then research, research, research. Because this is just a short little presentation. There's so much more out there that you might find interesting about schools and universities that we did not cover.
Yeah, this has been brilliant. I'm just excited to be able to share this information. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this into our Barkley Linktree resources link once this is brought up on YouTube so that you can have access to it. On our Linktree, we already have the application portals right there. There's a whole tab for application portals where you can click under whether you're applying to the UK or to the US or to Canada and have all of the relevant information that you need. I also have for the S3 students a college prep checklist, which has a number of the items that you both have mentioned. If you're in other year levels and want to have access to this, don't hesitate to connect with me. It's for S3 kind of guiding you through. And of course, for students that are in younger year levels, it's never too early to start engaging in this process, as it can take time, just as Mr. Darrell said, to figure out your why. Why this program? Why this university? Why this field? Why you? Right? And so once you have a sense of where you're going, right, you can put steps into place and now to support those future plans, ambitions, and goals and dreams that you're after. One question I have for you both: we're always really practical on the pursuit to college and university. I've shared with my S3 year level some financial hacks that I found when I was abroad, whether it's working on campus at gigs like the library so you can get paid to study, whether at the grad level, I worked as a graduate research assistant supporting professors with the university, and I was able to get tuition, a discount, substantial tuition discount, whether it's when you're, especially in the grad school level, being a resident assistant, which I did, where you get to then have room and board for free. But that was a while ago. I've been out of university for about 16 plus years. So do you have any fresh or additional kind of like hacks that you found to be helpful for students that are also trying to, and parents and families that are trying to figure out the financial aspects of it? And also on the Linktree, there is a whole video workshop on financing college education. So this is not that workshop. You can click on that Linktree connection for that workshop. But just briefly, what have been your experiences, if you don't mind sharing around, or even just your friends, what they might have shared has kind of helped them to finance education?
I think from for me, I would say that the best way that I sort of manage my money out here is to keep it as far away from myself, right? So what I mean by that is I use my checking and savings account very strategically, right? So
Yes.
I will give myself whatever I need for the week or for the month, and then I will try to I'll put everything else in the savings account so that I
Right.
can't keep, because this is the danger, right? In Bermuda, you have cash, so it's like physical, you feel it, and it physically hurts to give
To
it to
give
the
it
cash.
away.
Like you feel it's a guttural feeling. But when you have your phone, it's just tap, tap, tap,
Yep,
tap, tap.
yep.
So definitely I would say that try to use things like that strategically. Um, don't don't cheat yourself, I sort of say, right? Because sometimes I do have cash and I have this mindset that, if it's cash, it doesn't count. Um, so don't try to be honest with yourself about your spending habits, and you know, you you'll really appreciate it when you get to the end of term and you're not sort of trying to make 50 pound last a month. So, that's my advice.
Absolutely love it.
I've got three quick things that help.
Sure.
I mean, first and foremost, Yawan and I were both fortunate enough to get the XXL scholarship. He got it 2021, I got 2022. But scholarships do
Yep.
help.
Yep.
And Bermuda is a very unique place with scholarships. There are so many scholarships available for, our tiny, beautiful island. So it's, I think, a lot more accessible than other countries, than like actually getting a scholarship from the university itself, which can happen. Sometimes they'll give you scholarships based on your grades to try to get you into the university. Or if you apply for scholarships, there's a ton of scholarships from universities. But Bermuda has so many. They've got millions of dollars of scholarship money to give out, to hand out every year to help students grow, to help educate Bermudians. So go to bermudascholarships.com and just look at them. You will most likely be eligible for most of them. So just apply, give it a lot of effort because it will take a bit of that burden off your shoulders. And
Thank you so much.
at
Yeah.
Longtail Learning, we're gonna be helping with that come the new year and talking about that hopefully with you guys.
Yes, brilliant. Thank you so much for mentioning that. I also want to drop that on that same resource link tree, right? There is an on-demand workshop on how to make yourself marketable for scholarships. So we have in that interview Ryan Parenchief, who is a Rhodes Scholar, Berkeley alumni, who provides you tips from his perspective as one that has applied for and has been very successful with scholarships. In addition to, I think it's an executive from Chubb, but one of a large executive who does a lot of scholarship granting, who gave also the perspective as one that sits on the panel what they're looking for. So again, click on that Linktree video. There's a whole tab for scholarships and watch that video for more information.
Awesome.
All right. And oh, go ahead, Daniel.
Oh no, I was gonna say just two quick tips as
Sure,
well.
yes, yes.
Food is your major expense. I meal prep quite a lot. Like I make just a big batch of rice or pasta or whatever it is, and then you could eat that over 3 days or whatever. So it's gonna save you a lot of costs, and then also coffee. Get your own mug, do your own coffee. It's like 5 cents at home, and it's $4 at university. So it's gonna save you a lot if you drink coffee every day.
So that brings us to those life skills, right? What are some life skills that you need to be able to thrive in university? One of them is cooking, right? Learning how to take care of yourself, laundry, right? You don't want to get abroad and now all your clothes are yellow or pink rather, because you put your whites and your colors all together in the hot. What Get all those things sorted out now. This is your adulthood prep season so that when you go abroad, you're able to take care of those basic needs outside of the academics, outside of the finances. So thank you for mentioning that as well, Daniel. Any last, I think, was there a third one?
Oh no, that was kind of my third one.
That was your third one?
Coffee,
Awesome.
food, and
Coffee,
scholarship.
yes, food and coffee. Learn how to make those. Any other last recommendations or points before we wrap up for today?
I would just say that look out for our university mentorship boot camp that we have during this. We have a lot of different programs that we're running out and trying out, but I think that that is something that we're very excited about. We ran it last summer and we had about 10 participants, and we're looking to sort of improve on it. We have recruited some of the participants from last year in our mentorship scheme that we're running currently to sort of give feedback on it and see how we can improve. And we're even working on partnerships so that you can, after you have this boot camp, you can go into the fall with a mentor or tutor to sort of help you through that process of applying to universities, because it's always good to have someone there by your side while you're doing it. And so yeah, just keep an eye out.
No, that's phenomenal. And Longtail Learning is also on our Linktree, Berkeley Institute Resource Linktree, as one of our community partners and teams that support our students. And so we're so thank you for your continued collaboration, your continued engagement. And we are so grateful that you took time out of your busy scholastic schedules to impart your wisdom and your expertise with the students and families that we serve. We're so grateful and looking forward to connecting with you again in the future.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having
Thank
us
you,
today.
likewise.
Thank you. Have a great day. And those of you that are long done, please go to that Berkeley Linktree resource that breaks down so much information. I will also create a PDF on those 5 schools, right, that they mentioned, those different types of schools, whether it's your target, right, your reach, those options that we talked about. And so you can start to write down under those 3 categories what schools you're interested in, and you can start to check off that list as you apply. All right, we'll use that framework. So thank you for that framework. We'll make sure we use that as we move forward with college applications for those of you that are at S4 and those of you that are at S3, starting to fill in those gaps now so that when S4 year comes, you know exactly where you're applying to. So thank you again and wishing you a wonderful day.
Of course, you
Thank
too.
Bye.
Bye.